Hello and welcome to the sixth spreadsheet training session. They go by pretty quickly. What I'm going to start with this week is looking at the personal statement that you have to complete, which forms part of one of the other units, and we always complete it in relation to spreadsheets. So the document's a Word document. Okay, so to start off with, just what you'll do is you'll put your name here, the date here, and then either my name or maybe Ed's name, depending on whoever your assessor is. That will go in the assessor name category. Okay, so the next bit you fill out is the document name. This refers to the file name of whatever spreadsheet you're talking about, just so that as we're reading it through and we're looking just so that we know which one it's referring to, because you're going to submit at least two spreadsheets for the spreadsheet unit, and so whatever the file name of the one that that you're writing about. So we've written this, and there's sort of a minimum word requirement. Basically, what we're doing here is this used to be like an essay that people had to write. And a lot of people struggle with essays because they haven't done them for so many years. And so what we've actually done is we've sort of broken the essay down into lots of individual questions. I mean, it's not massive. I mean, it's only two sheets. I think there's about 12 questions, okay? But by breaking it down, it helps to make it easier to complete by just doing it in small sections. So I'm going to go through and just give you some of the ideas of what each of these different means. So we've gone through document name. So what will the document be used for? Okay, so that's just a brief outline of what the actual document is. Who's the intended audience? Are you going to use it? Is it for a line manager? Is it for a customer? Okay, so that's who's going to use it. Where will it be used? Are you going to print it out? Is it going to be filled in on the screen? Are you going to send it to other people? Are they going to fill it out? Okay, so that's a general overround what the document's used for. Okay, next question. What application software tools will be used and why? How will the information be structured? So most of you are doing it in Microsoft Excel. I know some of you are using OpenOffice. Put the version down and then talk about some of the tools that you've used to create it. You've probably used charts and graphs inside. Maybe you've used auto filters that specify some of the formulas that you've used. Okay, so that's that sort of thing here. What information do you need to include? Okay, so what is it actually about? Where are you gonna get this information from? Okay, how will you find it out? You know, if you've done a budget, then maybe you'd look at bank statements to pull in the information. If it's something work related, then who are you going to ask? Where, this data's got to come from somewhere, and where are you going to find this information from? Are there any factors that may affect the task? Okay, so it's possible that there could be time scales. It's got to be, obviously there's a deadline, but you don't think of it in terms so much of doing it for us. Think of these spreadsheets that you're creating. Say a work one. What the actual work usage of it is and what the factors may affect it in work. The information that you need, do you have easy access to it? That could be, so that could relate to the previous question. How are you going to find this out? That might be a factor that affects it. Okay, are there any budget implications? Are there any time resources? Okay, so that sort of thing. It's not a big one. Okay, any local constraints? Okay, so that means one, and we've given some examples here. So a constraint could be the size of the file. That may or may not be an issue. Any compatibility issues. Probably more likely it's things like house style. Does it have to be laid out in a certain way? Do you have to use your logos in a certain way? If it was a college-based thing, obviously you can't plagiarize, you can't use somebody else's work. Okay, so there will be certain local guidelines that you may be able to describe. And there may also be, so I'm skipping down to 1.7, there may be some legal guidelines. Once it's produced, who owns it? If it's a work project, then chances are if you're doing it on work computers, then your company will own own what's being produced. Are you using anything inside the spreadsheet, any images that have to be licensed? Okay, and then there's the issue of data protection. Who's going to see, what data are you storing, and who's going to see that? There might be some legal implications there. Okay, so now we're going on to 2.1. Now, this is similar to one of the previous questions where it says what tools, but notice it says what tools did you use to format, edit and lay out your work. Okay, so not tools in general, but the formatting tools. So you may well have used the borders and shadings. You may have used graphs in some respect is laying out your work and editing. But this is all about how it looks. Okay, so not to do with formulas here. Okay. So now this next question is all about why use a computer. Okay, so benefits and drawbacks. So give me some positives and negatives to using a computer to do this task. Okay, so for me, it would be something like, well, obviously it's going to look far more presentable. If you've ever seen my handwriting, it's atrocious. I can actually type a lot faster than I can write, so it's more productive for me in that way. Obviously, the maths will be, it's a lot easier for me to check the maths because I'm using a spreadsheet. Can you think of any drawbacks? If it's on a computer and there's a power cut, can you get to it? Does it have to be stored on a central server? Is that server really slow, or, really slow to access? So think of some drawbacks, okay? And then, were the tools that you had, so did you have to use OpenOffice, for example? And although OpenOffice is a fine program, did it lack something that you may have needed? I doubt if it did, but was the tools appropriate to the task? Okay, so that's plenty for that one. Right, so this is important, okay? What you need to do is you need to assess how well you've done your piece of work, okay? So you need to look at the strengths of your work, what are you pleased with, what do you like about it, and then the weaknesses, okay? So don't, in this section, talk about improvements, but just say the things you liked. You may be really chuffed with the formatting, but you may feel that some of your formulas weren't particularly good. Is it suitable for the type of audience that you're creating it for? So just assess the document. And then related to that is the next question, 2.4, how could you make it any better? Okay? And that would probably come from looking at the weaknesses of the previous question. Okay, so you could maybe more in-depth formulas, use more pages, just not necessarily more pages, but that sort of thing. So how did you review, so I'm going down to question 5 now, 2.5, how did you review your work to make it was fit for purpose? What feedback did you receive and what changes did you make as a result? Well, a lot of you will have obviously all of you will have submitted your work to me and I would have given you some feedback on it. Perhaps you showed it to some colleagues, okay? And then think about whatever feedback has come back to you and then make some notes of the changes that you made as a result of that. Okay, so that's going to be very individual. But it might have been that that your formatting wasn't particularly good, and then you went in, you used borders and shadings, and you just changed the font around a little bit, and you improved the document. Okay, so that's simple enough. So describe ways, and we're nearly at the end here, describe ways of improving your own productivity when using IT. Okay, and really there's a bunch of different things that we've listed below here. So I find that productivity for myself is improved when I learn the keyboard shortcuts. So if I can do lots of things from the keyboard, I have one hand on the mouse, one hand on the keyboard, and so learning keyboard shortcuts. There's also, you can record macros, you can have a template of your work so that you don't have to start from scratch. You can use styles which apply certain formatting techniques. You can customize how Excel looks, so rearranging the little toolbar just to have everything set up just the way you want it. Okay, so that's plenty of things there. And then finally, how do you know that you've achieved the goal that you set out, which is essentially right at the start is, what is the document going to be used for? How do you know if you've completed that? How do you test it and check? You'll want to make sure there's no errors appearing anywhere in the document. It might be something to do with feedback. If it's going to be used by a customer or a line manager or something, you might want to have shown them and got some feedback from them. So how are you testing to make sure it all worked? Okay, so none of the questions are too hard, but people often skim them and then don't put in the correct sort of answers. So hopefully this 10 minutes or so will have covered that. Okay, so let's go on and look at some formulas now. So I've opened up Excel here, and we're just going to have a look first of all. We're just going to do some nice formulas, some nice fun things. Well, I think they're fun. Everybody's definition of fun is slightly different. So let's have a look. So here I've got just went onto the internet and just typed in names, and I just got this random list of people. I don't know who they are. So what I want to do is, and you often get this, is I've got a first name in column A. In fact, let me just insert a row here, and I'll just put here first name, and then in column B, if only I could spell, I'm going to come up and edit it up here. So in column B, I've got the last name. And what I want is another column that just is name, that's both the first name and the second name. So you can see that I've overlapped things slightly, so I'm going to do the little trick that we learned before where we click in the top left hand corner, go to a gap between it, double click, and it just widens everything up. So what I want this to be, I want this to be the first name, and then I want it to be the last name. Well, how would I make it just be the first name? Well, that's nice and easy. I can just say equals, because we're talking formulas here, and we're going to do it with formulas. But if I just say equals and then click on the one I want, A2, press return, it does it. So straight away, I've got the first name in there. Okay, I'm just referring to another cell. I'm saying this cell equals what's in that cell. Now, something we haven't done before is we're going to use a new command now, is the AND, okay? I think it's ampersand is the name of the symbol. On my keyboard it's above the number 7 key. So I'm going to say equals A2 and B2. I'm going to click on B2. And has that done it? Let's see, press return. It has. I'm just going to double click on this gap just to widen the row. So I've got old Palsys Sepe here, which is a great name. Now, what's happened though? You can see there's one little thing that's happened, is that it's done exactly what I said on the tin. It's done A2 and B2. Now, the human eye looks at that and says, well, there's no space, and that's because we didn't tell it to put a space in. So it's just done exactly what we say. So how do we add a space? I want to add a space in between these two now. So that's nice and easy. I'm going to come up to amend my formula. So what I really want is A2, then a space, and then B2. So I've just said A2 and B2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the B2, and I'm just going to say I want a space. Now I can't just push space on the keyboard. Okay. What I'm going to do is, because a space is essentially just like writing a character. A space is a character, really. And all characters have to be written in quotes in formulas, okay? So it just doesn't get confused with cell references and things like that. So all the names of formulas. So I'm going to do an open quote, I'm going to do a space, and I'm going to do a closed quote. Okay? And then what do I want next? Well, can I just then write B2? Press return, and I get an error. And the reason I get that error is because I need another AND. Okay? So every time I'm adding any little component, I need the AND. So I've gone A2 and space and B2. Okay? And there we go. Now old Palsys is set up lovely there. Okay, so A2 and a space, and the only thing weird about the space is that we have to put it in quotes, and B2. Okay, so I'm going to do the true ninja trick of double clicking on the bottom right hand corner, and then I'm going to double click between C and D, and I'm going to, I've got it, there we go. So everybody now is nicely spaced out. So I'm really pleased with that. And then what you typically do is you've got these names, and then I'm going to put them somewhere else. Okay, so I'm going to go Control C to copy. So I've highlighted them, Control C, and I'm going to paste them here on sheet 2. So I'm going to do Control V. And what's happened here? Loads of errors. Okay, and this is okay because what we've done is we've copied exactly what was in those cells. And what is in these cells, if we actually look, are formulas. If we look up here at the top, it's showing you what's in the cell, although what we see displayed is the result of the formula. But when I copied it, I just copied the formula, okay? And so when it pasted it, you can see it's just, it's just pasted the formula, okay? And it's got these references because it's like, it just doesn't know where I'm referring to anymore, okay? But don't worry, this is a very easy fix. I'm going to come back in here this time, and I'm going to do exactly what I did last time. I'm going to do Control C to copy, okay? I'm going to go to sheet 2, just going to delete these, highlight them and delete that. Try again, press the wrong key, there we go. Click here, and then instead of just doing paste, I'm going to come up to edit. Oh, I think my pressing escape a second ago cleared it. Let me just try again, Control C and Control V. Oh, no. I will do this right. Instead, because that we know that way doesn't work. So this time I'm going to come up and I'm going to choose Paste Special. Okay. All Paste Special does is just allow you. It gives you some options of what to do with what you're pasting, and some of these options are brilliant. Okay. The one we're going to use mostly, or the one what I want to use is values. So don't paste. This is saying don't paste the formula. Just paste the value, just paste the result of the formula, and we'll just say OK. And there you go, you can see straight away that that's worked. And now, also if we look up here in the top, these are no longer formulas, these are purely the values, okay? So, you know, what that means is, obviously, if Palace up here changes to Dan, this one changes in C2, but over here on sheet 2, it doesn't change, it's no longer a formula, okay? So that's quite important to bear that in mind. But it doesn't matter because we just wanted the data here. Let me just highlight something, choose copy, just so that I can bring up paste special. The paste options only occur once something's being copied or cut. I just wanted to show you a few other things. So you can paste just the formula, okay? So that's the sort of opposite to the values. You can also paste the formatting. So it won't paste any of the contents of the cell, but it would paste the formatting that applied to that. So let me show you what that means just very quickly. If I had this cell here, just double click to make it wider, and let's just say it was a yellow cell with red text, okay? And I'm going to now copy that cell, all right? And that could be, you know, it could be really complicated. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do my paste special. And I'm just going to choose the format. Now, what will happen is that old Palace Seppi will stay there, but the box should turn yellow and the text should turn right because I'm just copying I'm just pasting the formatting. So let's press OK and see what happens. Phew. Okay, so it did what we hoped. All right, and I tell you what, one other thing I do use, and this is a lovely little trick. I'm going to select these and copy, and like I say, then I'm going to come up. So I've done copy, and I want to copy. And what I want to do on sheet 3 here, watch this, paste special, and then I'm going to click transpose. And what it does, watch this, when you click transpose and press OK, isn't that great? It changes it from being in a, let me get the wording the right way around, it changes it from being in a column to being in a row. So it took all our data that was in a column format and it pasted it across, so each one is now in its own row, in its own column. You know, you can see what it's done. But it's very useful. Okay, so often you'll have data either horizontally or vertically, you know, in a row or in a column, and you can, all you do, so just to reiterate it, Control C to copy, come in, I'll click down here, you go edit paste, and you just tick this transpose button. Okay, and you can do so. If I let me do it from the start. If I copy these formulas, Control C, come over here to sheet 3, do edit paste. I can at the same time choose values and transpose. Okay, and there you go. It's copied the values and transposed them from horizontally to vertically. It's far easier to do than it is to say. So I've just got rid of the words and I've replaced them with numbers. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at an if statement. Okay, so this is like I'm testing if something is true or if something is false. All right, so I've got a bunch of numbers here that range, I don't know, from what, 8 to 684. All right, and I want to test to see if they are, I don't know, less than 40, let's say. All right, and if they're less than 40, I want to say less than 40, and if they're more than 40, I want to say greater than 40. Okay, it'll make a lot of sense when we type. So I'm going to do a formula. So I'm going to type equals, and it's the if formula. So I'm going to do open brackets. Now, let's really look at what Excel's telling us here. And it really helps. If you can decode this, you're laughing all the way through. Okay? So we'll just read this first. So if logical test, all right, so the logical test is what we're testing for when we're going to test to see if the number is less than 40. All right? And then there's a comma, and all of the formulas, you know, once we get past the basic formulas, which we've done for the last few weeks, the great news is all the rest of the formulas follow the exact same pattern of layout, okay? And the pattern is commas separating things. So basically, the people that write the formulas, or that when Microsoft have been creating this, they've been like, right, what we'll do is we'll just get them to put commas in between the different things to denote you're moving through a formula. I'll show you what I mean. I think I'm making it sound a bit more complicated. So this is going to be the less than 40 bit when we write it in a second. Then we're going to put a comma, and then it's simply, what if that is true? So what should Excel do if it is less than 40? And a comma, and value if false. What should Excel do if it's not true? Okay, if it's false. Okay, so it's so much easier with an example. All right, so I'm going to click here because I like clicking. So if A1 is less than 40, all right, what should it do? Well, I want it to write, and so we do the test. So it's less than 40, and then, like I said, everything's separated by commas. So I want to write less than 40, and we've already mentioned today that when you're writing something, you just have to put it in quotes because Excel might get confused, and it just knows that if something's in quotes, it's easy to deal with. Less than 40. All right. And then the other thing was, well, what if it's not true? What if it's not less than 40? Comma, I'm going to say 40 or more. Okay? Because we're testing for less than 40, so 40 itself would fail that test. Okay? Press return. And so 10 is less than 40, so it says. So it does the test. Now, so the only thing I'd say that's scary about this is this use of the less than sign. You might not have ever come across this before. So let's just have a little quick look at that. On this sheet, I've just written the two different signs. This is greater than, this is less than. Okay? There's two ways that you can remember it. There's probably loads, but there's two ways I think of. All right, so this is the greater than sign. All right? Now you think, when we're reading, we read from left to right. Okay? Just normally as we're reading, you know, our eyes go left to right. And the left side, okay, is big, and the right-hand side is small. So it's greater on the left to the right. Conversely, as we go from left to right on this one, it starts off small and gets bigger. So it starts off less and gets bigger. That's one way. Another way, and this is just like a little I tell you what, as soon as I saw it and it stuck in my head, forevermore it's been the same. This looks like the letter L. Doesn't it? Just a bit squished, you know, here's the letter L here. And L is for less than. This, you wouldn't look at that and think that looks like an L, but you could see that this potentially just looks like a little, you know, it's been tilted a bit and a bit squished. It's a bit of a hard done by L, but an L is nonetheless, and less than. So you can just look at them now and you'll instantly go, oh yeah, that looks like an L, it's the less than sign. All right? So less than and greater than. All right? So we were writing a test, and so we wrote the test, and the test said, if A1, and then we look at the sign, what does that sign? Well, it looks like an L to me, so it's the less than sign. If A1 is less than 40, do this if it's true. And if it's not true, do 40 or more. All right, so let's just, let's do our ninja trick of double clicking on the bottom right hand side. And let's just go down and let's just check. So 15 is less than 40, 21 is less than 40, 65, 40 or more. Yeah. That looks like it's spot on. Let's change 1 to 40, just so that, yeah, okay. And because we're not testing for 40 or more, we're testing for less than 40, okay? So 39.99999 is less than 40, but 40 isn't less than 40, okay? So that's the test that we're doing there, all right? So I've just copied and pasted the numbers again. I'm just going to do a formula and this time just show you greater than. Okay, it works exactly the same way. So let's say equals, and we'll say, so if, open brackets. So what's my test going to be? What should I test for? Well, let's go for the big numbers. Let's go for numbers that are greater than 100. Okay, so if D10 is greater than 100. And so that's the test. And then what do you do then? You say, right, well, what do you do if it's true, and what do you do if it's false? So if it's true, I'm going to say big number. Okay. Then you can write whatever you want, obviously, in these. I mean, and then if it's false, so I put everything's written in quotes. So I put big number in quotes. Then I do my little comma, and I'm going to put small number. I'm going to spell it correctly, and then I'm going to close my brackets. So 10 is a small number in our series. Let's do the ninja trick of double clicking. Double click, and let's just have a quick look. 321, that is a big number. 684, that is a big number. 210, that is a big number. Those numbers are all greater than 100. Okay, and you can get as complicated from this now as you want to. I mean, you can really go to town with how it works, but there's no need to for this. It's just once you understand the process of building them, you know, so you might have some sales figures come in, or you know, any different figures, and you might want things like this to happen. Now again, let me just show you let me just reiterate one thing. I'm going to take these big numbers, small numbers, okay, and we might want to put them somewhere, so I'm going to do my Control C to copy. Let's not paste over that. And I'm going to put them here. Now what will happen if I just, something about hitting escape. Control C. If I do my Control V, again I get the error come up because it's copying the formulas. And so what do I want it to do? That I want to go into paste special, and I know the value, we're going to choose values from here. I might transpose them just for the hell of it and press OK. Oh, okay, that happened because I had a big area selected. Let's do that again. Paste special, values, transpose. So you one, well, it's two formulas, but they're the same. They're just sort of the opposites of each other. Just before we finish, and they come in quite useful. They're basically called left and right is the name of the formulas, but I'll just show you how you use them. And what they do is left will give you, starting from the left, however many characters you specify. So if I was to say left 3, starting from the left, it would return Dan, D-A-N. all right? And right does exactly the same way, starting on the right. So if I did right 3, I would get IEL, all right? So let's just have a look at that, just to see how it works. So I'm going to do a formula, I'm going to start with equals, going to do the left formula, and do my open bracket, and a text. So I could type a word in, but I don't want to, so I'm just going to specify the cell that the word's in. And then this idea of this comma again. The comma is the way that all the different parts of the formula are broken down. And the other thing it said was how many to return. So let's do 3, close brackets. And then we get the word down. Okay, let's do a right over here. Equals right, open brackets. And again, look, let's just have a little look. So we've got right, the text, and then the number of characters that we wanted to count. So I'm going to go to refer to the same field, and I'm going to just say 3, and there we go. So it's just nice. Sometimes you want to pick. So for example, if I wanted, I've just thought of this one. If I wanted, I could use this to give me the initials of both of these. So let's have a go at how we might do that. And this will sort of combine everything that we've gone through today. So what do I want to do? I want this cell C3. So let's start with the formula. So I want this to be the initials. So of Palace Sylvan here. So how am I going to do that? Okay, so I want the first letter of each of these words. Okay. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say equals, I'm going to say left because I want the from the left. So click, comma 1. Okay, so if I just press return now, that will just put a P in this box. Watch this. Let's say and, because we've already learned and today. So I want that, and I want a dot. I want to make I want to put, you know, the initials with a dot in between them. So I'm going to put an and write a dot, and then I'm going to do another and then what else do I want to add to this? Well, I want to add this cell, which is B3, but again I want the left part of it. Okay, so I'm just going to write left, open brackets, B3, comma 1, and things start looking a bit complicated. But we've broken it down sufficiently. So we're saying this, let's just press return first. Good, just to make sure it worked. So let's see, so this box, okay, so it's saying, give me the left portion of box A3 and give me the first, so give me the first word, letter that's in the left of this box. Then I want you to add a dot. So we put a dot, remember we put everything in quotes. And then I want you to give me the left of B3, and what part of the left of it? Well, just give me the first digit. Okay, and so I should be able to double click on here, and we get their initials going all the way down. Okay, so there we go. We've looked at the personal statements, and then we've gone ahead and looked at ifs, ands, and then lefts and rights. Okay, so I hope you've all found that useful, and I'll look forward to speaking to you again next week.